It's HPR, All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. On the line with us today is Dave Mason, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member. You may know from both his time in Traffic as well as lots of solo songs like We Just Disagree, Look at You, Look at Me. He's back with a tour of the islands. We're gratefully called in today to Hawaii Public Radio. Dave, thanks for being available. Appreciate it.
Oh, no. Thanks for helping spread the word, man.
Welcome back. Good to speak with you again. Just looking at the poster for your Hawaii tour makes someone want to go see it. Describe that, in addition to the great poster, what folks can expect when they head on out to see you.
Well, musically, it's basically revisiting kind of that period when Traffic first started, the first two albums. Most of the songs, pretty much stuff written by Jim Capote and Steve Winwood. So I'm kind of playing these tunes that I really haven't played in years and years, and I just thought it'd be nice to revisit it. Some of them are close to the record, but others are just my versions. That's the first half of the show, and then there's a break, and we come back, and the rest of the show is Dave Mason. Hey.
And who's going to be out with you this time, Dave?
Alvino Bennett on drums. Tony Papler is my keyboard player, who's actually also playing keyboard bass. And John Sambatero, who has been with me on and off for years, is my other guitar player. I think the shows we did last time when we were there with Miller, I think it was just a stripped-down version. It was more in a sort of electric acoustic thing,
yep,
I think.
Exactly.
This is a whole, this is a different story.
Much more electric feel. And certainly when you're describing the set, that's another aspect of it that's quite different because, as you said, you're intentionally revisiting the Traffic material.
I mean, I picked essentially things that are fun to play, so that every night it's a little different. I mean, there's solo stuff in a number of the songs. I do Dear Mr. Fantasy, which is not my song, of course, but I sort of have a different version and done a few more changes in the song musically.
It sounds like you're reinventing a lot of stuff that's going to be familiar to people, but you'll give it a different twist.
And then I step out of that particular era, sort of going Traffic AD, Traffic After Dave. We do a version of Low Spark, Ohio Boys.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how well it goes over.
Talk about how it was that you came to have this important legacy be attached to your career.
I mean, when we started Traffic, sure. I mean, I think it was about 18. And Jim Capote and I had bands together. I mean, Jim grew up 12 miles away from me. So we had bands before Traffic. And then we just sort of finally met Winwood and Chris Wood up in Birmingham. We just kind of hung out for a year. One part of it for 3 months. I was a roadie with Spencer Davis's group. I mean, I had to stand in for Steve one night, didn't turn up.
So this is before Steve had even left Spencer Davis.
Yeah, well, Traffic's on. I mean, I'm singing on Somebody Help Me.
Right.
Traffic are all singing on Give Me Some Lovin', and I'm a man. Traffic's singing on those records. So
perhaps a huge song that everybody listening can connect to that you wrote, Feeling All Right, then Joe Cocker takes it. Can you share a little background of when you first realized that he was going to do it and how you felt when it became this huge hit, your song?
Well, I heard Denny Cordell, I guess, decided to cut it with Joe. I didn't know about it until I heard the recording of it. I mean, before it was released. And then Denny played it to me. It was like, oh, man, it's unbelievable. So, no, I owe Joe Cocker. I owe that guy a huge debt of gratitude. I mean, because after he did it, since then there's been over 50 different major artists have cut it. It never stops going in films or commercials.
And you get the publishing on that then.
That song alone has been,
It's a gift that keeps on giving in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, his version, it sounds as fresh today as it did then.
You know what's cool about you, Dave? Your Wikipedia page is one of those kind of things that's kind of jaw-dropping. It's a tribute to both the diversity of your resume, but also the tenacity of your career. And I'll just pull a few names out to paint a picture for folks who are in our conversation with us right now. You see Paul McCartney and George Harrison's name, Michael Jackson, obviously Hendrix and your interesting connections with him.
Obviously the most unique of all of them for me was Hendrix.
Tell that story of hanging out with him that day. Who was there and what happened?
A girlfriend at his apartment one afternoon, and there were some other guys, two or three, four other guys from some other bands, and they had the John Wesley Harding album. Of course, everybody wanted to hear the latest from Dylan. It was when we were there with that album on. And I guess he just picked up on Watchtower. We're going in the studio to cut it.
So you're there as Jimi Hendrix first hears Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. And then when did you go to studio to cut it with him? Was that your first time heading into the studio with him?
I'm trying to remember, because there's some other stuff that I did with him, playing bass and sitar. And we're actually a pretty quiet guy off stage and a good sense of humor. I never really spent a lot of time around him where he didn't have a guitar in his hand, even if he wasn't recording.
How about Michael Jackson? How did you end up getting connected with him?
I was cutting the last album I ever made for Columbia, Put Old Crest on a New Wave.
Right.
And I had a song on the album, and I needed somebody to sing a high part on this one song, Talk to Me. Michael was cutting Thriller in the other studio. They were mixing it with Quincy Jones. They were on a break, so I just went and asked him if he would. I mean, I got this track, and I'm recording, and I need somebody to sing a little high part for me on this song. And I was wondering if you'd be up for doing it. And he kind of looked at me, and he said, well, you know, when I was 12 years old, I did a Diana Ross special. And he said, the last thing we did on that show, me and her, is we sang a song called Feeling All Right. So, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it.
Does he do it right away, or what happens next?
Well, he sang a lot more than, he did it right away.
So he just walks into the next room with you, into your studio, and starts doing it?
Oh, yeah, and did a lot more than I asked him to do.
Easy to work with? Did you have to tell him how
he was a sweetheart. He was just nice. He's just, sure, man. Yeah, Dave. You're right there.
And he didn't need a lot of direction, huh?
Just played him the song a couple of times, showed him kind of where I wanted to park. Out there dancing, right? In the studio.
He was dancing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Singing at the same time, you know. It was cool.
As a final question, as I wrap it up with you, turning away from music and just the thing that helps keep us grounded, keep us moving, maybe when there are tougher moments or maybe things that have helped us be resilient.
Hey, everybody's got a life to live, and everybody's got their ups and downs. For me, fortunately, no matter how far off the track I may have gotten, I've always had my music to come back to, really. The stuff that's kept me on track, and believe me, I've wandered off the beaten path.
I get you. It saved you in so many ways.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I've been very grateful to get to pick your brain again, as always.
It's been great. Thank you. The
great Dave Mason.
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to it.
I give you a big hug, Dave. I'll see you when you get to town. Maybe we'll get to do something.
All right, Dave. Thanks.